being a person of color is a risk factor for not only being incarcerated, but also dying from COVID. And that's just that's not fair.
Yeah. We are here with a very special guest.
My name is Victor, Victor Nwankwo, or Dr. Victor as the patients would call me.
So tell us in general, like what your experience has been working in these places during this pandemic.
As residents, we're really responsible for being, to use the war analogy everyone's using right now, troops on the ground. Young doctors across the entire nation are kind of being thrust into this very unique situation.
Reports actually have stated that Black and Latinx communities in America have been hit the hardest with COVID-19. What has been your experience on this matter?
The reports that have been released specifically by our mayor are pretty clear cut, and it shows that the African American population in Chicago, at least the COVID-related deaths, are the overwhelming majority of the patients that are afflicted are African American or people of color. The reasons that have been given is that because persons of color have higher rates of underlying conditions like asthma or diabetes or heart disease. Additionally, persons of color are also less likely to have the ability to switch their work schedule to a remote work schedule. So because of these specific reasons, and of course overall systemic concerns, it's not surprising that this is the case, and it's extremely saddening. I particularly am very interested or focused on what's happening with the incarcerated communities. So everything from what's happening in New York with Rikers Island to Chicago's concerns is very important to me because, as we all know, persons of color are disproportionately incarcerated. Being a person of color is a risk factor for not only being incarcerated, but also dying from COVID. And that's just that's not fair.
Yeah. Is there anything people don't know or don't understand or that the media isn't talking about that we all should be?
One thing that I am worried about is how things will play out in Africa. I feel like Africa is just kind of lagging behind due to the lack of testing, as well as due to the lack of infrastructure for both media, press, as well as healthcare. If, things go poorly for Africa, I think that could also contribute to continuation of this, global pandemic.
Well, they're saying mid-May that we will be able to sort of try to wean off of quarantine. Is this something that you as a medical practitioner, do you believe that timeline to be something to sort of head towards?
I don't really know what to say. I think that I would be best to hope for the best, but also plan for the worst. As we see more testing, we can start to agree that the timeline can be met. And then additionally, I think that so long as we keep seeing reassuring numbers, then maybe.
What can we do to continue helping?
I think what's really important is the idea of checking on your neighbor. I know myself, I've tried my best to run through nearly my entire Rolodex and just touch base with people, make sure everyone's doing all right. Ultimately, the way to most help is just to, stay at home at this point.
Victor, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.